Hello, this is Demon Phoenix with another Witcher 3 video, this time part 7 of my Death March walkthrough, covering the Kaer Morhen section of the game and covering up until about level 31. So we start off, where we left last time was level 27, and we just finished finding Ciri and doing the Isle of Mists and all that kind of thing, and doing the first part of the Kaer Morhen where we explore Kaer Morhen and get all of that good happy stuff. So now this is where we are going back to Kaer Morhen to actually fight the Wild Hunt. And very soon, early on in this, I leveled up to level 28, and you'll see that in just a moment. But the main thing about fighting the Wild Hunt is you have to know how to fight them, and you have to be wary that the hounds do different types of damage than the Wild Hunt soldiers do. In this part of the walkthrough, we'll also be getting some of the things that finish off the build that we're going for, and really we'll have all the core elements in place by about level 30. And also at level 30 you can upgrade the Ursine armor again from the enhanced to the superior, and we'll be fighting Imlerith as well. So this is what we're going to do. First of all, when you're fighting the Wild Hunt, you have to realize that just like the bestiary entry for the hounds, which recommends Elementa Oil for the hounds of the Wild Hunt, the Wild Hunt themselves, even though they are actually elves, do need Elementa Oil to be fighting them. So if you look at the damage that I do and the damage that I take here when I hit the Wild Hunt, it's about 890 there with that hit, and then when you apply the Elementa Oil instead of the incorrect oil that I was using there, when you apply the Elementa Oil you do more damage, and you also take less damage from them as well. Now the decoctions that we'll be using will be the same, so you want to be using the water hag decoction, the echidna decoction and the aracas decoction to reduce the amount of damage you take. So if you're using those in the elemental oil and then your potions such as superior swallow and things like that, you should be absolutely fine. The only reason I'm taking damage there is just to demonstrate the actual amount of damage you take if you're using the incorrect oil, and the fact that it's slightly higher. So stick to the elemental oil and you'll be fine. When you're fighting the Wild Hunt, if you kill a few of the soldiers, there are sections of this where until you do something like open the gate at the first part, the soldiers will carry on respawning. If you get a minute, you can grab some pretty decent things off them, namely meteorite silver plates, which are quite expensive crafting ingredients. Note that when you're fighting the actual hounds of the Wild Hunt, they're doing quite a lot of damage here, even though I have got the correct setup. This is me testing the reliever decoction, which is supposed to be used against wraiths, and you can see here that it doesn't really make a difference, so you want to stick with the aracas decoction here. So as I said, when you kill some of the Wild Hunt soldiers, you can get meteorite silver plates off them, which are quite valuable, so grab those if you get a chance. The hounds do elemental damage instead of regular slashing or monster damage, so if you're having particular problems with the hounds and you find it easier to dodge the soldiers, you can switch back to the feline gear. Here I've still got the enhanced feline gear, which I'm carrying for switching to versus elemental enemies like wraiths. You could switch to that, and that makes it easier against the hounds, and then just dodge the soldiers' attacks. I stuck with the Ursine armor for most of it. It was absolutely fine, no problems at all. So after you've had your heart ripped out by this cutscene and you've finished off the Kaer Morhen section of the game, you will be probably about level 28. I was level 28 quite comfortably here, and level 26 at the end of the last video we showed that we unlocked the ability slot at level 26. Well, level 28 unlocks the last of the 4 mutagen slots. So if you have enough lesser red mutagens, you can combine them into a red mutagen, and if you have a substantial number, and especially if you've gone to Toussaint and already have a greater red mutagen from beating Goliath, as was earlier in the walkthrough, you may even have enough to have 4 of the greater red mutagens. So here I've got 4 greater red mutagens. I'm not using the green ones because we take so little damage with this setup that it's not really necessary in my opinion, because nothing does enough vitality anyway. Now we're still missing 1 ability slot, and we'll get that a little bit later at level 30. You can switch height and tolerance for razor focus, as briefly described in the last video, and instead of using water hag decoction, there'd be no point using that then, because the potions would hurt you. And you can never use water hag decoction unless you have no declining health from toxicity at all. If that's the case, you could use the troll decoction with the aracas decoction, and then either the echimera or the echidna decoctions as well. So you could use the troll decoction and swap height and tolerance for razor focus if you wish. Next up we've got Bald Mountain. Now Bald Mountain is a pain in the backside because you have to fight the 3 Crones at once with Ciri. Ciri's very different to use than Geralt, and it's mainly dodging, so they can do a fair amount of damage, and it's not like you have a build or a protective coating to make up for the damage that they take. So this fight is all about being patient, so you just have to dodge around, abuse the hell out of her dodge. You need to be stood still for a little bit to let your health start recharging though, and make good use of her Y charge move. So when you've managed to win that fight, next you will switch back to Geralt and you have to fight Imlerith. Now Imlerith is quite a challenging boss, but there are a few things you can do to make it better. First of all, meditate to make sure that you've got your decoctions and potions back, and meditate so that it's after 6 PM, so between 6 PM and 6 AM, because the superior Tornial won't run out then. So you can apply the superior Tornial with the normal 3 decoctions, Arakas, Echidna and Water Hag, and then you can apply the superior Full Moon and the superior Tornial. Now superior Tornial, even when the toxicity goes down a lot, will still last there. There's also the place of power that you need to grab, so make sure you grab this Quen place of power, and that'll grant an extra ability point. And then it's on to fighting Imlerith. So if you're fighting Imlerith, it's much easier if you're patient, but here I'm quite impatient, so I couldn't really be bothered with that. So the way that you fight Imlerith is you take down his health for a good chunk of it, and when he gets down to about a third health, he starts teleporting, and he becomes much harder to hit. Now with the Arakas decoction and the Elementa Oil with protective coating, he does a much more manageable amount of damage than if you fight him without it. So with our setup, we should be absolutely fine. So what we've got here is we're going to use the superior Tornial that's already been popped and is using, and we've let the toxicity go down before the fight just enough so that we can use the superior Maribor as well. Now we've still got rage management, so if our stamina is not high enough to recast Quen, you can just use your stamina, and you can see that here, even though he's getting the odd hit in, you do so much damage to him and he doesn't really do enough to you to make up for it. So you can use Rend if ever he's using his shield to defend. Rend goes through that, which is why part of why it's such an amazing ability. And if you can get behind him, you can also use Whirl to do a good chunk of damage. After you've taken him down to about a third health, he starts becoming much more aggressive, and he teleports. Now he teleports 4 times, and then he smashes his mace into the ground trying to hit you. When he smashes his mace into the ground, you get a free hit. So you can just use that to recover. Don't forget that your toxicity has probably gone down a bit. Now, as I was saying, if you're more patient and just dodge and roll, then he won't get any hits in. But I was being impatient because I just can't be bothered, and he doesn't do enough damage anyway. So just wait for the toxicity to go down, use the superior swallow, and I can recover my health that way, and then just get the odd hit in him. And like I say, if you're struggling with this fight, you can just wait, and just make sure that you wait until he smashes his mace into the ground after each 4th teleport, and you can beat him without getting hit at all pretty much for the last area. So again, Rend, Whirl, and just dodging, and it should be absolutely fine. Now after this part, Ciri will ask you if you want to go straight back to Novigrad and meet the others, and tell her to wait. Now the reason this is really important is if you go back to Imlerith's corpse, you can loot a Magic Acorn from his body. Now if you keep the Magic Acorn and go back down to the villagers, they will ask you for it, and you can give it to them if you want. Do not do this. You really want to keep it. Leaving it makes no difference whatsoever, nothing good comes of it. So what you want to do is make sure that you loot the Magic Acorn and then go into your inventory and eat it straight away. And the reason that you want to use the Magic Acorn is because it gives you 2 ability points. So here you can see that I'm level 29, we've been saving our ability points as described in the last video, and so we've got 12 ability points there. But when you eat the Magic Acorn, it will give you another 2 ability points. You can see the message in the bottom left of the screen. And now when we go back to the character screen, we've got 14 ability points. So that's 2 free ability points, same as leveling up twice. It's really important. When you've done that, you go back to Novigrad, and if you've got any side quests or missions that are about to be too many levels ahead of them, so anything that's like level 27-ish, you can complete the side quests and contract and try and level up to about level 30. Now level 30 is where you get your last ability slot. And as you can see there, we've got 15 points and we've saved those up for a reason. Synergy is one of the things that we're going to be getting next, and that's a fantastic ability. But instead of using the points just for that just yet, I've already put 1 point in Razor Focus, and that'll boost the damage of the Greater Red Mutagen, so I'm just going to put that there. Now we'd leave 1 point in Razor Focus because even with just 1 point in, when you go into a fight, every time you go into a new battle, it will give you an adrenaline point straight away, and that 1 point in Razor Focus will also boost the adrenaline generated by your sword blows by 5% as well. We'll also be getting cat school techniques a little bit later on, but that's quite a few levels ahead. So for now we're just going to focus on tissue transmutation and synergy, but we need a slot to be able to put those into next. So after we've upgraded the Ursine armour to be the superior from the enhanced, which is level 30, we're going to take a quick detour to Toussaint, assuming you've got the Blood and Wine expansion, and we're going to do the Turn and Face the Strange mission. Now, Turn and Face the Strange, I did a video on this. You can get the mutations as low level as level 20 if you're being absolutely outrageously ambitious, but it's really not necessary, and it's a level 35 quest. So as long as we are level 30, most of the enemies in it won't be Red Skull enemies, they won't get the ridiculous boosts, and you'll be able to beat them really easily. So the Guardians at the top left, you fight 2 of those in the first fight. They use Beast Oil on your silver sword, so you can use Beast Oil on your silver sword. Make sure you equip that. And then the bottom right, you can see the last, you have to fight some giant centipedes. The first few should be level 35, so they won't have a red skull and they'll be easy. The last one is a little bit higher, and so that will have a red skull, but you just beat it with Eredin, and with protective coating and the insectoid oil and Aracas decoction, you won't take very much at all. Now the reason we've done this quest before we go back to Velen, Hearts of Stone, and finishing off the main story is because it unlocks mutations. Now mutations are very good, but in particular the Euphoria mutation is incredible, and if you've watched my video about the best build possible in the game, which is in my opinion my build, Euphoria is central to it because it boosts your damage by so much with an alchemy build. Now even though we've got mostly combat and then a bit of alchemy on the side, we've got the core skills to make sure that we take no damage and we do outrageous damage in turn. And that's because acquired tolerance boosts your toxicity, and your toxicity level affects how much damage Euphoria does. So we want to create the greater green mutagens that we'll need for it. To unlock Toxic Flood and Euphoria, you will need 5 greater green mutagens and also 5 ability points, which is why we saved up the ability points to make sure that we can get Euphoria. This opens a strengthened synapses slot as well, which is the 4 extra ability slots in the middle, and this is where it all ties together. So we get Euphoria and we equip that instead of Toxic Blood. Because we've got 2 abilities of the mutations, that unlocks 1 strengthened synapses slot, and then we use the other ability points that we've saved up to unlock synergy, and then the next few points when we level up are going to go into finishing off synergy as well. So we put 5 points in tissue transmutation. That is a useful skill and can be used in the very end game version of the build for when we start in New Game Plus or anything like that. But for now we're just going to put the 5 points in tissue transmutation, and we need another 2 points in the first 2 rows to be able to get down to the 3rd row and unlock synergy. So we put 5 points in tissue transmutation. There are a couple of decent skills, but I don't make a lot of use of bombs, so the 2 points that I'm going to put is actually putting 2 points back into poison blades. And if you've ever got anything that you want to poison with the superior oils, those 2 points in poison blades can be used. You can re-equip that skill and do it, but with the damage from Euphoria it's really not necessary. So I had 3 points left over there, put those into synergy, and then put synergy in the extra slot. So this is pretty much the end of the game. We've pretty much completed everything that we need. We do outrageous damage with Euphoria. We've got the superior Ursine, and then we're going to go back to Velen, and we're going to unlock the rune right by following the Enchanting startup quest costs quest. Now here you're supposed to be fighting these high level arachnomorphs that are supposed to be quite difficult and intimidating, and you need to get some jade to unlock the rune right. And you can see here that with Euphoria, protective coating and the Aracas decoction, both the damage we take and the damage we deal is absolutely ludicrously small for the damage that we take and ludicrously high for the damage that we deal. So it really isn't any enemy that poses a problem from here on out, apart from maybe Karanthe, but we'll be covering that in the next video, and you can dodge his attacks that can't be guarded against anyway. So we do massive damage. You unlock the rune right. The first level of the rune right gives you access to the deflection enchantment, and I would recommend that you pay the 5,000 crowns to unlock the rune right and put deflection on the superior Ursine chest. You can also put preservation, the enchantment, on one of your swords if you would like as well. And this is what we're going to be using for the remainder of the game, and makes everything pretty easy from here on out. So to summarise, we've got the superior Ursine set. At level 31 we're going to craft the Nilfgaardian Guardsman's gauntlets and use those as the gauntlets for the rest of the game, so make sure you do that as well. You can see there the arrow was just deflected because we've got deflection on the chest piece, and rend and will do outrageous damage with Euphoria. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for the next part.